Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome, friends, to episode number 193 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. So one of the approaches that make my coaching unique is how I blend in practicality with spirituality. And people often come to me wanting to make the best decisions possible so that they can maximize their happiness, their financial success, their energy, their results, which is why they resonate with my approach that takes into account intuition and logic. So you're going to learn today why you can trust your intuition and how that can become your edge as you think about your place in a world of logical thinkers and what makes you unique and hard to replicate. So let's dive in. So I love this topic because most of us have been trained to not trust our intuition and to trust logic. And as someone that was previously a management consultant, I remember when I was in that mind frame, so much so that when I did my Myers-Briggs and my results for, there is, one of the factors of the 4 attributes that you come up with was, this feeler versus this thinker, it was on the edge. And if you actually know me, the feeling side is very heavy. But because of the training and the deep training that I had and the practice that I had using very logical thinking constantly, I was on the edge when I was answering that set of questions for that assessment. And so I know how powerful your environment can be to condition you to disregard some of that intuitive sense that you have and to only rely on logic. But that belief that logic is the most important decision-making criteria is one of the biggest lies about how to think about what's next for your life and your career. And it completely makes sense why you might think that you should only rely on logic. We have been trained to read numbers, to make decisions based on analytics and data, to make sure that your emotions don't run the show. And you want to do what's best, not just for yourself, but also for your team, your organization, and those around you. And you feel like that logic-based argument is infallible and that people won't be able to poke a hole in your decision. And you also don't want to be perceived as a pushover or as too soft. Yet I want to check in with you on a decision that you're thinking about today in terms of what's next for your life and your career. You have something in your mind. I want to ask you this. What number or what logic-only criteria are you going to use that's going to tell you what's right for your next move? And if it was only a logic and numbers-based game, you might choose the job, the role, make the decision that makes you the most money or has you working the least amount of time, something to that end. So how do you quantify things like strengths, your passions, your interests, your curiosity, your impact, the people that you work with? All of those can be non-financial and qualitative measures. And visionaries and leaders have to make decisions based on limited information quickly. They often have to take in a lot of contextual circumstances that are not just based on numbers. They use their gut in addition to logic and facts, and it is what makes them differentiated, not someone that a robot or AI can replace. For example, if one were to think about the decision of buying a house and only thought about it in terms of numbers, you would think that buying a house is a poor decision. It is. If the decision was purely financial, the best financial decision that maximizes the amount of money you have would be to pay the least amount and live in the bare minimum that you can tolerate for that amount, and perhaps find alternative investment vehicles for that money. And it wouldn't be taking into account perhaps quality of life or the feeling of stability that often accompanies home ownership. An expansive life isn't one where you repeat the same days as yesterday. It requires more of the unknown, and leaders create certainty from uncertain situations by making visions, thoughts, ideas real through their belief, through their data, and their unique blend of intuitive leadership. So every time you throw away the sixth sense, the intuitive nudge that you have to go, to stay, to do something different, you learn to trust only what you know as facts, which is the things that you've already done in the past. And these are what I call the habits of overworked leaders, because often overworked leaders are so tired, they're so busy, and they stop trusting their own decisions. They want others to decide because in fact, sometimes it's easier. You have less of your own stake in mind when you can say, well, this is what that person wants. This is what they think is best. And when you want others to decide for you and you follow what feels safe, you do this because the possibilities of choice feel overwhelming and they start to look like everyone else. And not only that, they don't exercise and grow their brain. Every time someone else makes that decision for you, their brain grows. They've thought through all the things. They've taken the wealth of experience that they have that harnesses their intuition, and then they use it and then they get better. And when you stop doing that and you stop taking those small risks to lean into that sixth sense, you take the biggest risk of all, which is not growing your own potential, your own leadership, your own brain. And so how do you listen to your intuition while making good decisions? You use conscious and subconscious decision models. And what does that involve? It requires a decision-making strategy that I'm going to share with you today. I've talked a little bit about this in the last podcast, but this is the inner compass thinking. And it warrants a lot of time and attention because we make huge decisions when we work together in coaching and in life. As you think about your career, you're not done with this one career decision. You are constantly making decisions on an everyday basis that impact your next move, that impact your reputation, that impact your future work, and the amount of money that you could be making, the amount of time that you get to have, and the kind of strategy and impact that you will start to develop for yourself. So this is why it's important. And this set of guiding principles clarifies your decision-making process. It helps you think intelligently and stay true to your own goals and desires while bringing other people along. Because the more clear you are, the simpler it is for other people to get on board. And that inner compass thinking does this by providing you with a set of conscious and subconscious decision-making strategies that reduce all of the struggle and overwhelm that come from all of the choices and the decisions that you need to make every day. And it gives you back your time and your energy so that you can very consciously look at the bigger decisions that require more attention. And you stop hearing all the other voices that cloud your judgment, and your confidence in yourself as a leader grows. And what often happens is that people stay too long in a place or an organization and it doesn't work for them because they don't use this type of thinking, and they're worried even after they've had that experience about rocking the boat or making an impossible decision. So that's why they usually stay. And maybe they've done it more than once. And you probably resonate with this, especially if you're a great team player. You tend to stay in things because people ask you to. Yet, even after you've made this mistake once, or you've done this and you think you've learned from it, you still might feel confused about what to choose because you've stopped trusting your decisions a while back. Maybe you've made that one decision that didn't work out, and so now you think to yourself, okay, I don't know. Am I rushing into something else that's not going to work? Also, am I going to stay too long? Am I thinking like this? So your decision making becomes cloudy. And this is why when I work with clients on inner compass thinking, we do it in ways that help them build that muscle back until they can rely not only on it, but they can see the results. They see the results of it financially, professionally, personally, and their spiritual practices grow, which is their clarity in terms of what they value and what's really important to them, and the alignment and the congruence of having that set of values show up in their daily life. They become more confident and they feel like they are this different person in the level of clarity they have about what they want and who they are. So I want to check in with you. Do you want to continue relying on logic and practicality alone and ignore your intuition, the spirituality, the ultimate edge that you have, while others are growing their capacity to build and create big things? Or do you want to leverage your intuition to create not only career clarity and focus on what you need to do next to have a fulfilling career with the kind of work-life balance you want, but to also keep creating success consistently as a leader? If you want to do the latter, if you want to learn how to leverage that intuitive side of you along with building the practical leadership skills and the conscious decision-making models, then I invite you to join me inside of Spiritual Achiever Coaching. You can go to mayemson.com/spiritual achiever. It is risk-free. You can try it out and see if it's for you, and we'll get clarity on what you want next and then figure out how to go and do it, or you can get your money back. So we have the next retreat coming up in Puerto Escondido in Mexico in February. I'm so excited for this. We're going to dive deep into some of the bigger practices and immersive practices that you get when you get to spend time with me for a little bit longer on a retreat. So I invite you guys to join in. So if you want to learn more, you can go to mayemson.com/retreat. All right, my friends, you have an amazing week. I will talk to you next time. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. It'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.